It is 5 p.m. Welcome everyone to today's class. It is another moment of learning and inspiration with the Electoral College Nigeria. Our topic today is media and information literacy, how to spot information and disinformation. Before I go ahead to introduce our facilitator for today, as you join the class, please ensure that you sign your attendance, your name, and your pseudo-political party in the chat box. I am Oyore Justin, your moderator for today. I'll go straight now to read the profile of our facilitator for today. Our facilitator for today is Silas Jonathan. Mr. Silas Jonathan is an accomplished fact checker and researcher at Dubawa, Nigeria, with a degree in mass communication from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. He is also a distinguished fellow at the African Institute for Open Source Investigation, where he has contributed significantly to research on information ecosystems in Nigeria and West Africa, particularly in relation to information disorder. Silas possesses expertise in the use of fact-checking tools to for verification, and has conducted several consequential fact checks, earning him a nomination at the 2021 African Check Awards. He is a member of the WHO's WHO Viral Facts Alliance and has debunked various COVID-19 related claims while actively participating in initiatives to provide explainers and media literacy articles during the pandemic. Furthermore, Salas is an active member of the Nigerian Fact Checkers Coalition, NFC, where he has played an integral role in monitoring elections and debunking numerous electoral-related claims. With his exceptional research skills and expertise in fact-checking, Silas Jonathan is an asset to the field of journalism and information verification in Nigeria and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention as I yield to Mr. Silas Jonathan to deliver his lecture. Mr. Silas, sir.
Thank you very much for this brilliant introduction. It is always a pleasure to be part of this conversation. And uh, uh, Great work the Electoral College is putting together. And I also want to extend regards to all the participants who are here. It is not easy to be part of such conversations, especially on a Sunday. So I must cheer you and say, uh, well done. Yeah. Without wasting so much time, I will jump right through the the slides. I am sorry, my network here is poor. I'm somewhere in rural Liberia, and the network is not so good, so I wouldn't attempt to share my camera. I'm sorry about that. But I will just share my screen and so that we could have our slides um, ready. Yeah, and then we could carry on with the conversation as it is. So thank you very much. Let me just quickly um, jump onto slide. Yeah. I don't know.
So if you can hear me, your line is breaking.
Can you see the slide?
If you can hear me, sir, you were breaking. We didn't hear you.
I think he has left his network probably.
Yes, I believe it's network.
Sorry, it's network. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you now, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Do you need help with the slides?
Let me try. If it doesn't work. Okay, I think I have it now. I have it.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, let me put it in full presentation mode. Please, in case you don't hear me because I'm on full slide, do interject, please. Yeah. So the topic it's media and information literacy, like the moderator has rightly said, and it is how to spot mis and disinformation. Um, uh, Very important conversation, if you ask me. It never gets old. It never gets redundant. It is always fresh to talk about this because of the utmost importance that it has, and not just to our polity, but also to our democracy. And uh, it is a key part of media and information literacy because mis and disinformation almost affects every and each one of us. Um, we are going to be looking at, uh, as we know, um, the digital space has had a lot of impact in not just the way we live our lives, but also in the way that we communicate. And although that came with some good, it also came with the democratization of information that is now making almost everyone to have access to share information with or without any limitation. I remember when radio first and television were the dominant platforms. You need to have some sort of access. You need to have some sort of uh, um, you know, celebrity kind of personality before you gain access to such kinds of limited spaces. But when the digital space through social media came, everything changed. Like I said, that came with some disadvantages because now that everyone can share any kind of thing, the space has become bombarded with disinformation, which simply is also referred to as fake news. And so the conversation today is how do we go about this? How do we identify this? And then, you know, how do we even know that we're dealing with a fake news? These are not new terms. These are not new terms. And if you see from the visualization, each one of them are connected. So I really want to hear from the participant. And there's no right or wrong answer in this conversation. I want to hear from you. What do you think is misinformation? I want to hear from just anyone. Just normally when you hear the word misinformation, what comes to mind? Anyone? Nobody? Someone? Anyone?
Domir raised his hand. I've asked you to unmute.
Ibrahim, go ahead, please. Yeah. Ibrahim Jari, I can see you. And quickly we hear from Victor. And then Dumi. Quickly I will hear from the three of you. Ibrahim, go ahead.
Ibrahim, can you unmute yourself and speak?
Victor, if you're ready, pick it up. Victor Ahmed. Rumi.
Hello. Hello, is
Yeah,
anyone
Victor,
hearing me?
I can hear you,
Good
Victor. Let's
evening.
proceed.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
Misinformation. I think simply I would put, you know, when the fact of an event is not reported as it is, but distorted just to get attention, or when the information is passed wrongly, not as it happened, then you are misinforming people on what really happened. It's different from when we say disinformation, because when you are retracting or you are changing everything, then you are disinforming people. But when you are misinforming people, you're not giving them the true fact of an event or an occurrence. That is misinforming them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor. That was a good commendation on that note. Uh, well, you've given the definition in a very unique way that I think I've never really heard about it, but a very unique way that you've attempted to answer this, and I like it. Um, it is true. Uh, your definition is valid. And things that also makes misinformation a unique thing aside the two other aspects of misleading content is that it is the intention that differs. The intention differs because if the intent is to mislead intentionally, that becomes disinformation. If the intention, if it was unintentional, then it's disinformation. But if there is a deliberate attempt also to share any content that's seen or is targeted at, ridiculing the personality of someone, or making someone, ridiculing someone's image to the public, then that is malinformation. So it is the intent, but like Ibrahim, Victor rightly said, they are all misleading information. It is just sometimes malinformation that might not be so misleading, might not also be a lie, but it portrays someone's image, a company, or a person in a very bad light. And that is not good because now people begin to see the person from that angle. And when you're seeing someone from a very limited paradigm, what happens is that you judge them wrongly. So what it means, if someone's like you see in the example, revenge porn, if someone's naked pictures are exposed, it doesn't mean that that person is a mad person. It doesn't mean that that person is a foolish person. It doesn't mean that that person is a wicked person. It doesn't mean that that person cannot think right. It doesn't mean that that person, but it is not like that. Most times when such happens, the society looks at you as if you are dead already. So all of these three kinds of that fall under all this misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, when you put them together, they are what fall under information disorder. So when we look at the information disorder, these are the three categories of information disorder: misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. But going deeper into our conversation, we need to also look at why is it important? Because we are talking about spotting mis and disinformation. We need to look at other um, key terms. Why is it important for us to be able, even as I want to believe that all the participants here are, ambassadors of democracy, ambassadors of polity and franchise. Now the question now is, why is it important? In fact, why is it that in this conversation, in the series of topics that you've encountered, why is it that we have one that it says to spot mis and disinformation? I've outlined some things here, three. But immediately I finish talking about them, I want to hear from two people, aside the ones I've mentioned here. So just start thinking about it so we can use our time wisely. One of the reasons why it is important for us to be able to spot mis and disinformation and even malinformation is so that we would be able to preserve our democracy. False information can manipulate public opinion, it can influence electoral outcome, it can harm democratic process. And I can give you a lot of examples. When when the Lagos gubernatorial elections was happening, the deputy vice, the aspiring deputy governor under Labour Party, a woman, I can't remember her name, someone shared a picture that was in a club smoking and drinking, and so people should not vote for her. But when we looked at the picture, we saw that the picture was actually from of another woman who lives in South Africa and has nothing to do with that gubernatorial candidate. But we saw that it somehow dissuaded voters and even, I would say, reduce the chances of her making an impact in that electoral outcome. Another thing is it promote informed decision making. You know, because when you don't have good information, you make bad choices. And when you make bad choices, the outcome has negative impacts on society. I'll give you an example, which I always give here. When Ebola first came in 2014, I was in school and I had they say, oh, you need to take salt and water because it's going to help you fight against Ebola. I took salt and water. I took it for like 3 days, and even convinced some of my friends to take it. That in its own, it's because I had no access to good information. Imagine if someone was there and say, hey, Tyler, don't take this thing. It's not good. It's not going to cure Ebola. Or I saw it on the news, but nobody knew. Even people doing the news thought that, hey, maybe that is a good way out. We even saw during COVID-19 when there is the rumor that um if you take Ewedu, it's gonna cure you from, and a lot of people took it. I took it again, not mostly because I want it to cure, but because I think I like Ewedu. Yeah. And another thing is that it mitigate harm, you know, when we are able to spot misinformation, it's gonna help us to say, hey, don't believe this, don't trust this. Because false narrative can have real world consequences, such as inciting violence or causing a health risk. I remember during the election, someone shared a video of some people being flogged, and the person said, hey, these are Igbos in Lagos being butchered. You can imagine how Igbos in the South would have felt if someone, based on that. But gladly, folks were able to verify it and then sort of calm the situation. But before I move to the next one, do you think, are there other reasons that you think it is important we we
Sorry, we seem to have lost our facilitator. It's network issues. He will be back. Please. Be patient, please. He'll be back. In the meantime, while we are waiting for our facilitator to regain connection, I believe the material for this class was dropped for you guys. If you have formed your thoughts, or you can begin to form your thoughts and your questions and then drop them in the chat box while we hope that our facilitator comes back. Someone is asking in the chat box if we can have materials for these classes for further studies. Your name is not here. I'm seeing TechnoSpark. You already have the study material for this class dropped before this class. The essence is for you to go through it, so it becomes easy for you to connect as the facilitator speaks. You have a material for this already. I believe so. Yes, I can see a comment from Mr. Ibrahim about your inability to unmute. Yes, we noticed that before now I tried to unmute you and you were not able to unmute yourself. I think it's network, just like we said. It has stabilized somehow. I believe it will be better as we progress. It wasn't intentional. It's network challenge. Thank you.
Okay, it seems our facilitator is having a bit of network challenge. I'm trying to get across to him. So let's just be patient and hold on. But meanwhile, maybe one or two persons can share what they've learned from the course so far. We're getting to the end of the course. Your graduation is this month. So you can just share what has been maybe your best class so far, what has been the take home for you so far. So if you're willing to do that, you can just indicate with the show of hands and the moderator would ask you to unmute while we wait for a facilitator.
Thank you, ma'am.
And also, before I see any hands, I hope we've also started planning towards the end of cohort project. I'm sure we've been informed about that. It's a prerequisite to your graduation. It has to be ready and submitted before graduation, and graduation is the 23rd of June, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe that every party should have already started putting things in place and should have started planning on how to carry out their projects and submit before the said date. So please, if you've not, you have just barely 2 weeks to do that. Like it was said, the project is physical. So you can choose to go to schools, you can choose to go to the community hall. The idea is to step down everything you've learned so far to pass across the information to the public. That's what we do in Electoral College, Holly Tracy. So that's the idea of the project. For you as a student to show that you've truly learned what has been taught, you pass it across to others, and then you show us the proof of whatever it is that you've done. You can also choose to use maybe radio jingles and all that, but whatever will reach the public. Yeah, so I believe that all parties should put hands on deck and do that before graduation.
Thank you, ma'am. Who is sharing with us what you've learned so far? Indicate by raising of your hand so that we can bring you up.
I think the facilitator is even back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's back.
Hello. Can you hear me? I want to really apologize for the audio transmission. I just went down, we sorted it now, so I think we should flow well. Yeah. Really sorry about that. Please, can you give me the to share, I'm requesting to share the screen so that because we're already behind time and I want to grant me the permission.
Okay, sir. Let me make you a co-host, sir, so you can share.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, you can share now, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Yep. I don't know. Can you confirm if you've seen it? Hello?
Yes, we can see, but no information there yet. But we can see that you've started sharing your screen, sir.
Okay, I'm coming. Yeah. How about now? You should see it now.
No information.
Can you see it now?
No.
Okay, I'm coming. Let me stop.
It has come up now, sir.
Okay, you can see. Thank you. Yeah. So let me go full screen. I'm joining with two devices just in case. So I don't. Yeah. So I was saying, of course, we're somehow behind time. I really want to get back into this. As I was saying, one of the three key reasons why it is important for us to be able to identify mis and disinformation is so that we can be able to preserve our democracy, which I think is the core of what we're doing even here, to promote informed decision making among the citizenry and to mitigate harm. When people know that something is not true, they can be able to take better decisions. But what are the consequences of mis and disinformation when we are not able to identify mis and disinformation? When we are unable to debunk it, what are some of the consequences? One is that it pushes and reenacts misleading beliefs and confusion among individuals. There is a certain belief in some parts of Nigeria that is so backward, uh, respectfully so, but then it puts some people under some sort of radar. For example, there is some misleading belief that hey, albinos, are good for some sacrifice, which is not supposed to be. But it is a belief. And
Sorry,
if you
sir.
ask me, I would say it's quite misleading.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
Your
yeah, I
slide
can
is
hear you.
blur. We cannot see it clearly. Student cannot see it clearly. It's blur somehow.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it's clear
Wow.
now.
It's clear now, right?
Yes,
You can
sir.
see it now.
Yes, it's clear now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for thank you
Welcome,
for
sir.
that. Yes. So misleading beliefs, as I was saying, can it's also a form of misinformation and disinformation, and its consequences are enormous. And then another thing is that there is damage to reputation and credibility. I was giving an example of the LP deputy gubernatorial candidate in Lagos, which almost lost her chances of winning the elections uh, because of that. And then also social and political polarization. Um, politics is supposed to be enjoyable. Politics is supposed to be for democracy. When there is bad energy, when there is so much misinformation, it becomes war. Uh, APC, political, PDP, like warring each other. That's not supposed to be so, but this misinformation can fuel that. And then potential harm to public health and safety. I just told you about how much salt and I took during Ebola. Who knows? I might have some because of the salt I took then. Um, sometimes if I feel a bit down, I feel like, oh, maybe it's because of the salt I took years back. Who knows? But then, a lot of people died not due to Ebola, but they died due to uh, the impact that taking salt caused them. So especially also during COVID-19, where we had rumors that, hey, if you take chloroquine injection, you're going to be fine. These are all examples of how that can have potential impact. But I want to hear from one person quickly. What is one consequences of fake news? In other words, mis and disinformation that you have experienced that you want to share? Quickly, if you're there, just raise your hand. Or you heard about, maybe not you particularly, but you've had a story about how someone, um, anyone. Okay, okay then. Uh, great, great. Okay. Uh, so another thing that um, it is important um, in this conversation, it's also the fact that one of the things that makes mis and disinformation to even flourish and spread is confirmation bias. Um, we all have confirmation bias. Confirmation bias, it is just favoring existing news, information that seem to align with your belief. So, if, for example, your political party is APC, there is a high chance that you are more likely to support whatever has to do with APC, even if it is not true. So the problem with that is that when an information that is misleading, a disinformation that is not true, uh, makes its way, it becomes, um, you know, um, very important because people would now want to share it. People would now want to forward it. People would now want to push it um, because it aligns with their belief. And this is this is in all of us. All of us have this kind of thing. But then uh, as folks familiar with MLIL, it becomes very important for us to be aware of our confirmation bias so that we look at information critically, look at the evidence, look at the facts, and see how uh, uh, whether it aligns with the quality of the information or not. So confirmation bias is really a problem that it's even making it difficult for us to identify based on this information. Um, Please, I need someone to talk. I need someone to talk. Um, the question here is, what can you see in this picture? What can you see in this picture I'm sharing, if you can see it? What can you see in this picture? What can you see? Yeah, Ibrahim Jari, please go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Ibrahim, good
Yes,
evening,
good
Ibrahim.
evening. Yeah,
I can hear you.
I can see a young lady between the age of
A young lady
15, between the age of 15 to 25.
between the age of 15 to 25. Thank you very much for this kind. Do you think the young lady is pretty? Do you think she's a beautiful lady?
Between the age of 16 to 25.
Yeah, so I'm asking you, do you think it's a pretty looking lady?
Of course, yes, she's pretty because she's young. And look at her hairstyle. And it seems her face should be
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for this. Who has a contrary opinion to Ibrahim?
fine, just
Who
like
has
her
a
hair.
contrary? Oh, I
Hello?
like that. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you very much for the contribution.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Who has a contrary opinion? Esther Eberechi Chukwemeka. Yes, go ahead. Tell me what you see. Esther, go ahead.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody. So actually, I can see in this picture, like someone laying down on a pillow. Person's face is kind of, the person's face is on the bed, like a side of his face is on the bed, and the person has a
Okay.
full hair. So that's what I can see in the picture.
What age would you give the person? Like,
This person should be young, maybe a teenager. Yeah.
okay, like Ibrahim then. Okay, one last person before I move on. Thank you, Esther. Thank you very much for that contribution. One last person. So nobody sees a different thing. Justice? Okay, not Justice. Okay, sorry. Justice is a host, of course. Okay. Isaac James, go for it. Go for it. Quickly, so we move. Isaac James, go for it. Isaac James? Isaac James, are you there? Can you unmute and talk? All right, let me proceed. Well, many people have seen many things in this particular picture over the years, and many people have different perspective as to what the picture means to them. Uh, of course, Ibrahim was not wrong. Um, of course, Esther again wasn't wrong. Uh, Others see a different thing. Someone told me he sees a forest, and someone said he saw a stream. Someone said he saw an old woman looking sad. Someone said saw a map of the world. A lot of diverse opinion. You would see that how we see things, even as individuals, differ. We can see the same thing but it may mean different things for us. And that's how mis and disinformation is. You know, it doesn't matter what you see. It doesn't matter whether what you see is true or not. What is important is what are the facts. There is a difference between truth and fact. So religion is in the lines of truth, you know. Um, if I believe a certain religion, it doesn't mean that it's fact. You know, it means that it is my truth. So if someone looks at me and say, hey, what you're following is wrong, this is what you should, that is his own truth. But 1 plus 1 is fact. So what I'm trying to say here is that whatever it is, we should be aware that when it comes to identifying mis and disinformation, looking at the fact is more important than focusing on the apparent thing we see with our eyes. So are you guilty of having all this, you know, not seeking out the objective facts, being very, very, having confirmation bias? Are you guilty of interpreting information to support your existing beliefs? Ask yourself these questions internally. Um, do you only remember details that aligns with your belief? Do you sometimes ignore information that challenges your own belief just so you don't, uh, you just ignore it, because it doesn't suit your belief? I've seen a lot of examples of that. Someone is not going to that church, or then whatever comes from that, I don't even want to listen to it, or I'm not. This is my stance in Islam, and I don't want to believe it. So this happens usually in other in our lives daily, in different sectors of our lives, whether it is our personal beliefs, whether it is in our consumption of information, even generally. Now, the next thing is, what are the key steps? Now we're going core into it. What are the key steps to spot mis and disinformation? I tell a lot of people, I say, it is not a magical thing. It is not something difficult. First of all, one of the things that you need to do is to verify the source. So most times, perhaps maybe you're on WhatsApp and someone shares um, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is sharing 30,000 naira to Nigerians. Click this link to get yours. I see that a lot. You know, you don't want to rush. Now, the question is who and what? What is the possibility that the president is sharing such amount of money? And secondly, uh, who is he? Is it really him? So when you ask these two questions, you are able to maybe go and search, is there a news report about that? Something sweet like that has to have some report. And then another thing is that you have to look for signs of bias or hidden agendas. Hidden agendas. What it means is sometimes opposing political parties or people with opposing beliefs can share something that may appear so real, but their intention, that means the why, is so negative that maybe they have altered the information just to make it look so real. And then you need to ask your question, how? This thing that you're looking, is it generated image? What is the reality that this is true? So when you ask me what are the first steps to identifying or spotting mis and disinformation, I would say that is asking critical questions that would help you verify the source of the information. Another thing is cross-reference your information with other reliable sources. Like I was giving an example with the 30,000 naira President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is shared. You wanna be able to check other sources. Are they reported in credible
So,
media?
Mr.
Yeah.
The slide is not visible. It's blue again. Yeah, they are not seeing. Yes,
How about now?
but yeah, it's still blur.
Can you see it now?
We
I
can
don't know.
see, but
Maybe it's just poor network.
it's blur. It's network actually.
No, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Let me stop. Let me stop sharing and share again. It's
Sorry.
bad network.
Yeah.
I know this and can you see it now?
It does not come up.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Okay. Yes. Can you see it now?
Yes, it's better now. It's better.
Okay.
Yes, it's better
I
now,
just
sir.
moved it. Okay, great, great. Thank you. So like I said, the one important thing is to check the source. The source. Who is the source of this information? Let me give you an example. Um, in the year 2021, I saw a WhatsApp message that says that the Chinese government has intercepted um, an incoming ship filled with 7,200 human penises. That's male genitalia coming from Nigeria, and this male genitalia was coming from Nigeria, and um, it was being exported from Nigeria so that Chinese people can buy, and that sort of gave some conversation on Twitter. I remember then um, the parliament, the House of Representatives, even took it, say, hey, they want to make a law that um, talks about genital mutilation and all of that. Because of that, making reference to this report, that, you know, and when we looked at the information, we found out that the information emerged from a satire website, a website where people write funny news, just it's not true news, just funny news to make people laugh. But you see that when the information first came, nobody took time to ask the question. Nobody took time to look at where is the source of this information. Everybody just believed that it's true. So this is why it is important. So ask the source. When you see any information, when you see who shared it, like the one I'm telling you about that money, once you click the link, you will see that it's not a government link. It is something very, very unusual. Number two, on how to spot misinformation is examine the content. You want to be able to analyze the tone and language used. Sometimes some tones are so emotional that you will know this is what this news is telling you to do. It's just telling you, oh, now the Igbos are coming to attack us, Yorubas in Lagos. We need to act. Then you will see one follow-up message that doesn't add up. Another thing is look for sensational or exaggerated claims, claims that seems to add numbers. You say, oh, uh, uh, 10, you will see like uh, Nigerians will start collecting 5,000 naira every day. That's unfounded. That's so much, that's so much limited truth in that. And then another thing, you need to be able to assess if there are logical fallacies or inconsistencies. The inconsistency sometimes it's so cheap, and I will share some example with us subsequently. And also, you want to be able to classify the content. Is it an image? Is it a video? Is it an audio? What is it? Yeah. And then another thing, you need to want to look closely for altercations. Sometimes some of these pictures are edited, sometimes photoshopped, and all of that. So you want to be able to observe, examine the content, and know what you're dealing with. Most times, before you even finish, you have the answers. Like this one. Someone shared a screenshot of this saying that President Buhari is set to intervene Russia. That he wants to attack Russia because they have refused to stop attacking Ukraine. But when we looked at this image, you look at this image, you see that it is just someone that attached this breaking news at the end, just attached it there. You could see. We found out that, in fact, it was created using an app called Break Your Own News. Funny enough, people believed it. But just by merely looking at this, you will see that there is even with the language usage, you see that it doesn't just add up. Another thing you need to do is also evaluate supporting evidence. Determine if there are credible sources cited. Sometimes you just see a news that will say, according to sources, who are the sources? Nigeria will start giving 5,000 naira to young students. According to sources, who are the sources? you know. And another thing is assess the quality and relevance of the evidence presented. Sometimes people make bogus claims with no evidence, you know. And then be cautious of cherry-picked or manipulated data. Cherry picking or manipulation of data is when people just make bogus data claims. They'll say 60% of Nigerians cannot eat food daily. Where did you get the data? Who shared the data? How did you come about it? I've seen a lot of that. Like this one, I was equally shocked as you are. They say if you eat ewedu according to a certain doctor, that if you eat ewedu, Ebola, you will be immune from COVID-19. These are kind of information that you have to find out some of the roots. You have to go back to the source. You need to evaluate the content. What are the chances that ewedu will cure COVID-19? What is even the intersection? Then consider the context. You need to be able to assess whether the information fits within the broader context. Let me give you an example. Sometimes someone takes an image that happened in Lagos and claims it's happening in Ibadan, or takes an image from Ghana and claims that this is something happening in Nigeria. You have to also be aware of potential misinterpretations, like out of context quotes. There is a Facebook page that was run by someone in Zimbabwe, not Zimbabwe, Zambia, that he keeps dishing out quotes that are claimed to be from African leaders, but all of them are fake. At a point, I remember last year he was doing a lot of Robert Mugabe quotes. This is no, but it was not true. And then another thing is about evaluate if the content aligns with established facts. You have to be able to, you know, um, check, and if it aligns with um, some of the basic things that you know. For example, let me give you an example in this regard. If someone says that a Nigerian woman is giving birth to a white man, and let's say a married couple of Nigerian descent, both husband and wife, given to a white man with white hair, that is really, really unusual, and the person is not albino, you know. Yeah, so that's another thing. And then, um, but this also go down to the five W's and H. So when I see misinformation that has to do with context, I ask, what is it? Where did it happen? Why are you showing me this? When did it happen? Who is involved? And how did we come about this? I ask these key questions. Like this claim now, someone shared this image, the one you see, Nnamdi Kanu. He said Nnamdi Kanu was caught with a woman. It was on news. Actually, this was on a news report that Nnamdi Kanu was with a woman who led him to be arrested by the Nigerian authorities in Kenya. But do you see that the image was altered, taken out of context, and then painted to be Nnamdi Kanu? A lot of people believed it. It was even trended. It was reported, as you can see. Um, so another thing also, you need to pay attention to emotional language. Like I told you, oh, the Yorubas are taking our land. Oh, the Hausas are taking our land. Oh, blah blah blah. So, send this message to 10 people, or you will not go to heaven. Oh, la, 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 all of that, those kind of things. Um, Another thing is exaggeration or hyperbole. Look at it. Sometimes people make exaggeration so much in statements. Another thing is bias or one-sided news. There is a news platform called Igbo Times Magazine I've been following for some time. Any news they share is just biased. Doesn't make any sense. And another thing is you need to be able to look for poor grammar and spelling. All these bulk WhatsApp messages that sometimes our parents forward to us. If you look at it, you will see that the spelling is bad. The grammar is poor. This is one thing to look out and spot in missing this information. Like this picture now, someone when Hilda Basi did that cookathon, someone edited the picture of this woman that you're seeing empty by the right, by the left, and then gave Hilda Basi the world record and said they have given her already. But it's not true. Hilda did not even receive the award till like months later. But you see, people believe that she got it, and even this picture trended. Till now, if you browse Hilda Basi, you will see the people, news platforms using this picture to to show that she was there, that she's the one. If you can spot it, you can verify it. If you can have the feeling that this is not, then you can verify it. What are the fact-checking strategies? Verify the source, like I've said, cross-reference your information. You can always check fact-checking platforms to see if they publish something about what you are reading. Investigate your images using reverse image search tools to verify the authenticity. There is a whole section on fact-checking tools that I didn't add to this because that alone can take a lot of time. But anyone interested can reach out to me on socials. I can share some outlines of tools that you can use for that. But if you ask me, tools are not just the most important thing in identifying mis and disinformation. One of the most important things is critical thinking, asking the right questions, which I said I call them the 5 W's and H. What, where, who, how, why, and this question. Key takeaways: you need to be able to educate yourself to stay informed about current events. This is important because if you see the false information, you can be able to spot it. Again, you have to take responsibility. You have to think twice before sharing anything. It doesn't matter whether it aligns with your belief or not. You have to be responsible. Be a responsible consumer. Question your own biases. And then encourage media literacy. When our mothers or fathers are sharing, you can call them to say, hey, you need to be able to take a step, calm down before sharing any, and report and flag misinformation. You know that on Facebook, on Twitter now, if you see some misleading thing, if you report it, they take action, especially on Facebook and Instagram. But we don't do that a lot, and it would be nice if we do that. It's the end, but not the end. You see, spotting mis and disinformation is crucial in today's world. Like I told you, it will safeguard our democracy. And I think that is one reason why we're even having a conversation here on this platform on this. Thank you for listening. I'll be open to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful presentation, even though your slide was not most of the time coming on. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, sir. So students, you've heard on the media and information, your questions, raise your hands and ask you can as well drop your questions on the chat box. We pick them as we come. Thank you. Okay. Abdullah Osman, ask your question. I've asked you to unmute and ask your question, sir. Abdullah Osman.
Thank you, Mr. For the presentation. I'm really educated on this. My question is, there are lots of fake news going on daily basis. Why is it that you hardly see someone being punished for spreading fake news or misinformation, either on the internet or on the, yes, mostly on the internet. Mostly it's on the internet, but you hardly see a person, individual, or a organized body that spread misinformation, they have been punished. I don't know why. Is there laws that are provided for someone if he spread fake news that he will be punished? So I want to know the legal aspect of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me hear the second question, so I will respond both at once. Thank you,
Okay.
Abdullah, for that good question.
Simon, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
All right. Thank you very much and good evening. Please, Mr. President, can you help me differentiate between political propaganda and fake news? Thank you.
I missed that. Please come back again. Political what?
Political propagandas. Yes, and
and
fake
fake news.
news.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Good questions. Yeah. Let me start with Abdullah's question. Abdullah, there is nothing, there are no laws in Nigeria that directly speaks to punishment of sharing mis and disinformation. There are requirements of it in the social media um, bill that has been forwarded. I think it's in 2015, but it's not been put into law. And a lot of people from the CSOs, I myself, it's against it because when you look at the requirements for what is in the bill, it tilts even towards freedom of information. It has instead of it to focus on punishment, it focuses more on hindering people to share information. Um, uh, so it has had a lot of setbacks because there is the belief that such laws can be used to witch hunt people. You know, those in power can use it to say, "Hey, we'll shut down your internet." We've seen that when the internet was when Twitter was shut down. And in Africa, there has been a lot of abuse of social media bills laws that it's aimed to counter the spread of myths and disinformation on the platform. That is why um, so clearly there isn't anything. There isn't anything. There is no punishment outlined. There is not. But and a lot of CEOs are against it, you know, because of what I mentioned earlier. Uh, but fact checking and media literacy, as we have seen that it is the only way out. You know, it is like saying that there is a big tree that gives shades, but then there is one snake on it that is making people not to go there. So eh, people would now say the solution is to cut down the tree. You know, that is the kind of solution the bill is offering. You know, instead of, hey, let's find a way to kill the snake so we can enjoy the tree. So that is my response to that. And then Rimaskep. Rimaskep, I hope Rimamskep. I hope I pronounce your name right. But if I don't, please pardon my good question you've asked. You said, what is the difference between political propaganda and disinformation? Political propaganda is as old as math. You know, I did my PhD thesis, my SOP is on political propaganda and disinformation. So I like the question. Political propaganda is as old as math. You know, there is a belief that when the devil saw Eve in the Garden of Eden and stretched out, told her about the fruit, that was a political propaganda. You know, it is true that the fruit does what it does, but then he didn't tell her about the consequences. As we know, propaganda is a mixture of true and false information merged together mm, for some certain purposes, especially if it's political one. Political um, uh, propaganda became so potent in 1945, in 1940s and 1930s when Hitler, you know, used political propaganda to sort of conquer Europe, almost about to conquer Europe. So, what is political propaganda and how does it differ from misinformation? Political propaganda are information that aligns with people's beliefs. It could be true. It is a mixture of false and true that usually capitalizes on people's emotion to convince them to take an action. Like how Hitler convinced the Germans to kill the Jews. Say, hey, let's get this is our problem. You know, these people are our problem. In South Africa, we are seeing a lot of that, and I'm bold enough to say it. South Africans are saying that the whites in South Africa are not the problem, but other Africans coming from Africa are the problem of South Africans. Nigerians are the problem of South Africans. This is a political propaganda. Elections just took place in South Africa now. A lot of the presidential candidates, in their speeches, you will hear they say, "We are going to stop Nigerians and Zimbabweans coming to South Africans. You know, we are going to do that." So it is true that it may be a problem, but you know, using it to make people emotionally acceptable to vote them using that kind of information. It is bad. Uh, it's not good. So that is on purpose. And then fake news is what it is. It's entirely a false information people share. It could be for different reasons. It could be so that you can buy someone's product, so that you can believe in something. And so while fake news is entirely false, political propaganda has a mixture of truth and usually aligns with people's emotional belief, drive home and influence decision, especially in the political atmosphere. That is it. Thank you very much for these questions.
Sir, we have about three questions on the chat box. Bali Marvelous, you said we should criticize, we should comes our way and cross-reference them. How do we go about this if this information is not like on the media? Like, let's say it is in a company or a team. What if the persons involved agree to be misleading with the information?
Can you elaborate? Okay, wait. Wait. Sorry. Oh, good. Good question, Berlin Marvelous. Yes. When I'm glad that all of us in this call are here. When you cannot verify information yourself, quickly, the only answer to this is quickly share it to any fact checker or fact checking organizations you know. And let me give you an example. In Ghana's election in 20 some years back, there was a video they couldn't verify, even in the Ghana's government, and they sent it to us, and we were able to verify it. So, if there's any information, quickly reach out to any fact checker that you know, because it's a requisite skill that uh, maybe it is past your. They have contacts to reach out to people, and when they do, people listen, and they may have some technical abilities to verify something. And so yeah, in that regard, quickly reach out to someone. Um,
All right, sir.
let's say it's the company or a team. Yes, yes. And then
Okay.
I see another question. It said, how can we spot the difference between myths and this? I've just explained that. I just explained that when I talked about propaganda and fake news. In other words, misinformation. Also, information probing ruffles feathers and steps on toes. But how do we go about it when it comes to probing about our seniors or those above us? Good question. I mean, I have battled with this question all my life, you know. In 2021, the governor of River State said that he gave 30% to education. And in the budget, when I looked at the budget, I saw it was not true. He gave just 6%. Before I put out the report, I reached out and they threatened me in that regard. And we published it, notwithstanding, you know. Sometimes if you are, what we do, and I'm just telling you the plain truth, what we do, or what you should do, uh, is that tell someone the information. Tell someone the information. You can even tell me to publish it or write something about, but it's not you. So you don't have to be the person to go, so that you don't risk, you don't come in harm, you don't come into harm way. But you can also share with someone to just share if you think that this has to come out for the public to know. Yeah, that's what I would say about that. Uh, what else, please?
There's another one.
Can you elaborate on how confirmation bias
Yes.
impacts on our ability to spot? Yes, good question. And this information, what strategies can we use to overcome bias? I am biased. I, Silas, am a biased human being. I say this with all sense of pride. I'm a biased human being. But the good thing is that I am aware of my bias. One thing is that you have to be aware that you are a biased human being. You have to sit and critically say, hey, when it comes to this issue, I think I am biased. You have to really look at it. You know, uh, you have to I like rice and beans with anyhow it comes, I like it. So if someone cooks rice and beans and gives me, even if it's not nice, I might say he's the best cook. It's just that I'm biased to rice and beans. So be aware of your bias. But how does confirmation bias? It is because when you see, like, let me give you an example. During the election, someone shared fake election result and say APC is winning in Lagos. But we know that APC didn't win even after the elections in Lagos. So most of the people sharing this disinformation, forwarding it, retweeting it, were folks from APC. That is because they align with APC. They love APC. Their belief aligns with APC. So that's why they are sharing it. So that is how disinformation spread. Because they don't even want to look. Did INEC has INEC released its result? They don't want to even look at that. As far as it is, the election says, the fake election result says is in favor of APC, we will share it. So that's how it does. Yeah.
Thank
Yes,
you.
good commendation. There is rule. Let me read this. But truly, there is a need to put out rules to implement punishment for fake news. Yes, I believe I agree with you. There should be rules for that. In fact, one of the things that we are pushing for is that there should be rules to put for the punishment of people with a lot of followers. We've seen Dino Malai sharing a lot of information. We've seen Fanny Coyote. We've seen other people that they share information that is false. They mislead a good number of people. Nothing happens. Especially people like that, it should have some special punishment. I agree with you.
Okay,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you, Justin.
Yeah, there's a question. Somebody's hand is up. Mr. Abdullahi, ask your question, please. I've asked you to unmute.
Oh, by the way, it is Dr. Hamidu.
Thank you
It
very
is
much.
Dr. Hamidu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Salas.
Yes.
A very quick one, a very quick one. Please, can you tell us some of the recognized fact checkers in Nigeria so that we cannot be misled? Then, secondly, again, this issue of misinformation, to what extent can we say that some journalists also borrow or maybe take a leaf from mis or disinformation in order to make their news item? Thank you very much.
Sorry, Dr. Hamidu, I got your first question, which you said should list some of the reliable sources of information, fact-checking platforms, but I didn't get the second one.
What the second one is?
There was some breaking.
Yeah, the second one is that there's disinformation, there's misinformation. To what extent is it that some journalists also do some misinformation and disinformation?
Okay, I get you. Yes, and I think that both your questions align because sometimes we have media houses that spread disinformation, uh, but in Nigeria, globally, there is the International Fact-Checking Network. We call it IFCN. So IFCN, there is the IFCN signatories. In Nigeria, I think we have like 4 organizations or 3. This is what I would consider reliable sources. And one of them is the Dubawa. Dubawa. Can even type it in the chat box. Dubawa. Dubawa is a Hausa word that means to check. Dubawa. Dubawa is a reliable fact-checking organization. You can see most of you can share this information with them. Yes, thank you, Dr. Hamidu. You can share and they will verify. There is WhatsApp channels. Uh, you can reach out on Twitter. When you chat, I can assure you they will respond. Yes, that's for sure. On Facebook, wherever. You can even give them your number to add you to a national group so that when you have a claim, you can share. Then another thing, there is Africa Check. Africa Check. Africa Check also is key. They are doing really well. They are also part of the IFCN signatories. And then there is Fact Check Hub. Fact Check Hub is also another Fact Check Hub is also another signatory. These are the ones that are under the IFCN signatory in Nigeria. A lot of organizations are coming up. to apply, but these are the three that the world recognizes in Nigeria at the moment. Yes. And then you're right. The question you asked about, yes, a lot of journalists have been caught to have shared myths and disinformation, uh, either for their confirmation bias or for money reasons. It's been there. We've seen a lot of examples of that. Thank you, Jeremiah Onome. I remember you volunteered during the Week for Truth last year. I see you. Yes, you did. Yes. Yes. So, yes, a lot of journalists are, and I will not boast and say journalists are not. Yes, a lot of journalists have been caught sharing misinformation for various reasons, selfish reasons, if I would say, especially during elections. We've seen a lot of fake news that was shared by journalists. I remember this fake election results. Even a key leading newspaper organization in Nigeria published it that uh, ABC was winning in Lagos, and even till today they didn't take down that news, and it's a big newspaper house. So yes. Uh, Someone said, what is the difference between fact checking, fake news, and cybercrime? Oh yeah, like you have said, hacking and all of that. Cybercrime is not fake news. Fake news is just a spread of misleading content, but cybercrime is a bit on another higher level. Hacking someone or or trying to access someone's personal information through parody, um, just to be able to access their maybe finances. That's internet fraud. Sometimes even hackers use this information or fake news to lure people. Like, for example, there was a guy we exposed some time ago that was sharing that the Atiku was sharing 50,000 naira. But if you click the link, it will expose you, and they will just wipe away all your money. So even though these are distinct terms, cybercrime and fake news, sometimes they come together for the same purpose. Yeah, that's it. Isaac James?
All right, sir. Isaac James, can you ask your question? Ask it to unmute.
Good evening, sir. This is Isaac from Jos.
Yeah, good evening. Oh,
Yeah,
great,
I
Isaac.
think I really enjoy these lectures. I'm a media aide to a politician, and I think I learned a lot this evening. I want to know the
Yes.
what can we do as a nation, because the rate at which fake news is spreading these days is alarming. It's disturbing. I mean, a lot of people have lost their life, especially here in Jos, as a result of fake news. So I want to know what can be done to reduce the spread of fake news, and if eventually the person or the agent involved in the spread of fake news is eventually caught, what are the punishments,
Yeah.
meant for such thing?
Thank you
Yeah,
very
that's my
much,
question.
Isaac James. Oh, great. Thank you. I'm currently working on a paper on that. Yeah, Fact Check Africa is also a good platform, please. Yeah. Fact Check Africa just submitted their results. Their application, yes, they are good. Yeah,
Yeah.
they are good too. The application, the IFC, and they are good. But back to the question, Isaac James. Good question you've raised. Three things. We've come together and say, hey, what are the solutions to this? Three things. One, we need to bring tech giants, all these platforms where they are spread, where it's Facebook, Twitter, because it is there that this thing spreads. Over the past 2 years, we've been able to draw them to have a conversation. How do you reduce this kind of spread? Because we have realized that lies spread more on these platforms more than the truth. And I remember someone from Facebook told me that because fake news draws a lot of engagement, it makes such platforms to make more money because people
Yeah.
are more drawn to fake news. So they agreed that they will be putting, when we write fact checks, they will be putting disclaimer wherever the information is. So now if you go to Facebook, if you see any information, you will see they will add disclaimer on the bottom to say, hey, this has been verified to be false by independent fact checking. They will add it. On Twitter, when you go on Twitter now, you will see when there is something that is not so true or is misleading, you will see they'll add some community notes and say, be careful, this information has been. So this is, but we are still trying to draw them in to do more by empowering citizens and also reducing the algorithms. When something is considered to be false, they should reduce the algorithm so that it doesn't go viral. Then secondly, we are drawing the government to set up not a bill per se, but a punishment act that outlines clearly that, hey, if you do this, if you share this kind of information, but not to do it as to collaborate with experts, because how the government cannot properly define what is false or not. There is a feeling that they might be biased to just put things that were aligned to them. So there needs to be a clear act that outlines if you are a political figure, not generally, let it be defined. If you are a political figure with some relevant following online and you share disinformation or misinformation, this is how much you will pay, and this is what you will, maybe 1 month in prison, or this is how much you will pay, or something like that. And then if you are a common person, because we don't want a common person sharing misinformation with little following to suffer if it did not even impact on anybody. So this is one thing we are looking to do. And then thirdly, we are also pushing to do a lot of MIL. We want to do MIL in 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria to educate people on misinformation, disinformation, especially now in the era of AI and deepfakes. And that is why this meeting that we're doing with you guys here on this call is important, so that you too can share the message, you too can forward it. Because there is nothing as important as empowering people to take the right decision, you know. And we want to do that. I see that one person said that he was part of Duba's volunteering. We always have this thing we call Week for Truth. Jeremiah last year was part of it. And if anybody is interested for this year, let me know. I will find a way to, because you are in this call, I will find a way to make sure you're part of it. We would empower you to go to any where you are staying in your area to talk to them about myths and disinformation and just enlighten them, just like we're having a conversation now. So these are the 3 things: empower MIL, engage government to come up with an act that outlines clearly the punishment based on personality, and also engage tech giants to do more. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, sir. I cannot see any more hands or no more questions in the chat box. So this will be the end of this class for today. Thank you, sir, for a very wonderful presentation. We've learned a lot. So at this juncture, on behalf of the college, I want to thank you and also ask the students to unmute and appreciate you. So, and appreciate our teacher. I've asked everybody to unmute and appreciate our teacher.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really enlightening.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that enlightening class for today. And thank you very much, Mr. Oyeri, for the great moderation. So remember, elections campaign starts this week and elections also this week. So get ready and get set for it. Good night and see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.